हाय दोस्तों, ब्रास ग्रुप के चैनल में आप सभी का स्वागत है। ब्रास ग्रुप आपके लिए लाया एक नया लेसन। आशा करता हूँ आप लोगों को पसंद आएगा। धन्यवाद।
We'll start with section 10. Section 10 basically deals with the concept of res subjudice. Now, what is the concept of res subjudice? See, basically it acts as a stay on the suit. Now, what does this section say? Section 10 basically says that let's say there is a matter in controversy, and with regard to that matter in controversy, one suit has already been filed, right? And the parties are saying the matter which is in controversy is same, right? A suit is already pending. Now, the other party goes ahead and he also files another suit, right? And in the same matter, same controversy, same parties, everything, this other party also goes ahead and files a different suit, maybe in the same court or in a different court. At this point of time, this section 10 says that since there is already a suit which is going on, and already a proceeding which is going on with respect to the same subject matter, so the second suit which has been filed later on, that suit will be stayed. There will be a stay which will be put on that suit, which means no proceedings will be done with respect to that suit. Otherwise, what will be the consequence? Otherwise, the consequence is going to be that there are two courts are going to give, and it's possible that the two courts give two different conflicting judgments. Then we do, and they are the courts which are at the same level, same pedestrian. So we do not know which judgment to rely on, right? So it can give rise to such issues कि एक ही मैटर पे दोनों कोर्ट में दो अलग-अलग कोर्ट में मैटर चलेगा, तो फिर the judgment can be conflicting judgment. So this is going to lead to a chaos, and also it is also a wastage of the court's time, energy, money. Everything is being wasted. While you have to decide one suit, why go into two different, why allow two different suits to be, suit proceedings to be carried on in the same matter. So that is why we have section 10, which acts on the stay of the suit. And which suit is stayed? The suit which is filed later on is stayed, and the earlier suit is retained. But there are certain conditions for it, and let's read section 10 and find out what are the prerequisites or the requirements for the stay of the suit, which is also called as res subjudice. Res subjudice. Res, R-E-S, res. Res basically means pending. Sub, S-U-B, sub. Sub basically means subject. And judice, J-U-D-I-C-E. Judice basically means under judiciary's control. Right? So res subjudice, which means any subject which is pending under the judiciary's control, right? So if a matter is already pending on the same matter, you will not be allowed, the suit proceedings will not be allowed on the same matter. Let me read the section and then I'll give you an explanation of it. Section 10 says, no court shall proceed, and all of you please open section 10. Those who are having section 10, please open section 10. Now, no court shall proceed with a trial of any suit in which the matter is also directly and substantially in issue. Now, underline this word directly and substantially in issue. And where is this matter directly and substantially in issue? In a previously instituted suit. So this matter is directly and substantially in issue in a previously instituted suit, underline this thing also, between the same parties, underline same parties also. Just keep on underlining and noting down the words that I'm telling you, then I'll give explanation of each and every. These are basically the prerequisites or the conditions required for imposing section 10, right? So between the same parties or between the parties under whom they or any of them claim litigating under the same title, again underline same title, right? Where such suit is pending in the same or in any other court. Underline this also. Same court, the matter is pending in same court or in any other court. Beyond the limits of India established or continued by the central government and having like jurisdiction or before the Supreme Court. Explanation says the pendency of a suit in a foreign court does not preclude the court in India from trying the suit founded on the same cause of action. Now, what does this mean? So this basically means that first understand the concept. Section 10 deals with stay on the suit. Stay in the suit, which means what? Stay on the suit means that the court in which the suit has been instituted, that is the second suit has been instituted, that court will not proceed with the suit. It is going to put a stay कि हम इस सूट में कोई भी कार्रवाई आगे नहीं करेंगे. सूट तो हमने इंस्टीट्यूट कर लिया, लेकिन आगे जो भी कार्रवाई whatever proceedings needs to be done, we are not going to do that, right? That's what stay on the suit means. तो stay करने के लिए क्या क्या requirement है? इसके लिए requirement है सबसे पहले there must be at least 2 suits. If you want, you can note down these requirements also, because otherwise you can read the very bit here. But just understand, first requirement for application of Section 10 is there must be at least 2 suits. कौन से 2 suits? One which is previously instituted and the other which is subsequently instituted. Right? So previously instituted suit or subsequently instituted suit. दो suit होने चाहिए. Second, the matter in issue in the subsequent suit must be directly and substantially in issue in the previous suit also, which means that the matter which the second suit is talking about, the subsequent suit is talking about, should be the same matter. It should also be the matter which is there in the previous suit also. So just issue के बारे में, just problem, just controversy, or whatever is the matter in the issue. Matter of the suit basically means the matter the issue which needs to be decided by the court, the bone of contention, the point of conflict between the parties, right? So basically the whole dispute, the dispute between the parties should be the same in both the suits. So the matter should be directly and substantially in issue in both the suits. So which means the matter which is to be decided by the court is same in both the matters. Then we come to third point. Third point is that the suit must be between the same parties or their representatives, which means the parties to the suit should also be same. If the parties change, obviously the entire cause of action claim and parties will change. So we do not, Section 10 will not apply as a stay on the suit and on the subsequent suit if the parties are different. If the parties are different, the second party's right was never decided, right? So the parties have to be same in both the suits or their representative. Representative means what? Let's say in one suit there was a party, but by the time the second suit and the suit is still pending, the first suit which was instituted is still pending, and by the time the second or the subsequent suit is instituted in the court and the proceedings are about to start, that one of the parties dies. And now who becomes his representative? His son become his LR, and his son, LR is legal representative, and he steps into the shoes of his father. ठीक है? तो जो second suit में parties हैं, वो father तो obviously is dead, so he cannot be a party in the suit. So his representative, that is his son, is going to be the party in the suit. But still Section 10 will apply, right? So in this point, the parties have to be same or their representatives, right? Then fourth point is that the previously instituted suit must be pending in the same court. या फिर the previously instituted suit has to be pending in the same court, या फिर same court with same court in which the previous suit is pending, उसी court में आप जाके subsequent suit file करते हैं, या फिर in any other court in India, right? So the previously instituted suit can be the subsequent suit can be filed in the same court or in a different court, but it has to be in India, right? Fifth point is that the court in which the previous suit is instituted must have the jurisdiction to grant the relief claimed in the subsequent suit. Whatever relief is claimed in the subsequent suit, the previous court should have the competency to grant that relief. Right? So obviously when you're settling all the matters in controversy, the court must have jurisdiction कि जो relief दूसरी party ने दूसरे court में जाके मांगी है, वही relief this party could have given in this previous suit also. So basically there was no need of filing a second suit. Section 10 basically the core concept is when there is no need, parties just for some frivolous, on some frivolous ground or just for the point of harassing the party. ऐसे नहीं होता FIR में भी एक FIR फाइल होती है, उसी के बाद एक क्रॉस FIR फाइल होती है. क्रॉस FIR यू अंडरस्टैंड, एक ही मैटर में एक पार्टी FIR करती है, फिर उसी मैटर में दूसरी पार्टी FIR करती है. इसी तरह ये सूट का है कि एक पार्टी ने एक सूट फाइल किया, वो चल रहा है, और उसी टाइम पे दूसरी पार्टी भी दूसरा सूट फाइल कर देती है. तो कोर्ट कहता है there is no point in when the matter is same, everything is same, why should we spend our time doubly and create a kind of controversy कि दो जगह litigation चलेगा same matter का, party same है, matter same है, सब कुछ same है. Now if both the courts give a different judgment, then which judgment will be applicable? Because courts की competency भी same है, courts का level भी same है, they are the same pedestrian. Then the judgment of which court will be applicable? So it's going to create a lot of chaos. So to prevent this kind of chaos, You have this provision, right? Now, another requirement for this is that the parties must be litigating under the same title in both the suits. Now, this thing you must understand. What do you mean by title? See, a person can have numerous titles, which means what? That one person can sue the other in his personal capacity, and a person can sue the other in another capacity. For example, a person is a trustee, right? There is a trust, and one person is a trustee. So when he is suing as a trustee on some, let's say Mr. A is the trustee and Mr. B is the other party. So when Mr. A is suing Mr. B in his personal capacity, the title is different. And when he is suing Mr. B as a trustee of a trust, his title is different. Because title different होने से उनके claims different हो जाते हैं, उनके standing different हो जाती है, right? And the way the court is going to treat the matter is going to be different. So the title of the parties should also be same in both the suits. Now, if all these conditions are satisfied, that there is already a suit which is pending, and the parties are the same, the titles are same, and it is either in the same court or in a different court. In such cases, what will happen? In such cases, Section 10, which is the principle of stay on the suit or res sub judice, will come into operation. And when it comes into operation, the court is going to stay the proceedings of the second suit. And what are they going to say? That let the first suit be decided. Now, the first suit will give you all the rights of the parties, and if you're not satisfied that, you can always go into appeal. But there is no reason, there is no requirement for two suits at the same level to try the same matter. Fine. Now, 2-3 more things then I'll tell you about is that Section 10 does not bar the institution of the suit. It only bars the proceedings for the trials, right? Which means what? If somebody is going to file a claim, so उसी time पे Section 10 नहीं लग जाएगा. Because how would you know कि किसी ने आपके against claim file करी है? It's only when the proceeding starts that a person will get to know that okay, a second suit has been filed. So Section 10 is not barring the institution of the suit. You can start a suit, but when the proceeding starts, when the trial stage starts, that will be barred, right? Okay. Another thing is, let's say.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what was the maxim that you used? Res
sub judice. R-E-S res. S-U-B sub judice. J-U-D-I-C-E. Res sub judice.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is the explanation part. Anyone has any question, please ask. Okay, before that, one explanation also. Explanation says that the pendency of the suit in the foreign court does not preclude the courts in India from trying the suit final on the same cause of action. Which basically means that if there is a matter which is pending in a foreign court, and now somebody files a suit in India on the same matter, same title, same party, same matter and issue and all that, at this point of time, this does not act as a stay on the suit. Section 10 does not apply. It's only with respect to the suits which are in India that Section 10 will apply. If it is in a foreign court, not in an Indian court, then Section 10 will not apply. Foreign can go and give their own judgment and our court can give our own judgment. Fine? Now, any question, anyone, please ask. Then I'll move to the case which is regarding this.
Oh, ma'am.
Is it clear? Yes.
Ma'am, the case where Section 10 has been applied on second suit and the two parties mutually agree to withdraw the first suit. So does that automatically admit the second suit into the proceedings?
No, when the party, okay, you're saying that both the parties agree to withdraw the second suit, first suit because they want the second suit to be proceeded, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am, because the claims of relief might be different in the second.
No, but relief you can always amend. There is a procedure of amendment of pleadings.
Oh.
Right. So you can always amend we'll do that. We have that in amendment of pleading, Order 7, Rule 11. No, Order 7, Rule 11 is direction of claim, sorry. Amendment of pleading is Order 6, Rule 18. Let me check. Okay, Order 6, Rule 17 is amendment of pleadings. Right, you can always amend. Okay, Devansh, your question is, ma'am, you talked about cross FIR. If two persons had a fight, A files a FIR for attempt to murder and B also wants to file an FIR for attempt to murder, then this See, res subjudice applies only in the civil matters. We're not talking about criminal matters. Right? Devang, res subjudice is in civil matters, not in civil matters. Yes. And see, same title means, just Chitra, I'll take your question, just one moment. Same title means that the capacity, the legal capacity. You must have done this in property law. Class, your property law concepts have to be clear to understand CPC. And that's why you have property law before you study CPC. I'm sure you have studied property law fine, nicely. See, you would know that a person can have several capacities. A person can have capacity as an individual, he can capacity as a trustee, he can have a capacity as a co-partner. These are his legal titles. The legal capacity of a person is different according to the title that he is litigating under. Right? So, that is why when to apply res subjudice, the person has to be litigating under the same title also. Right? Yes, Chitra, please go ahead with your question.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, in a case, if both civil and criminal matters, मतलब कि जो हमें मैटर डिसाइड करना है, तो उसमें सिविल मैटर भी है और क्रिमिनल मैटर भी है, तो कैन वी फाइल द सूट इन टू डिफरेंट कोर्ट्स?
देखो, सिविल मैटर और क्रिमिनल मैटर का प्रोसीडिंग्स अलग अलग होती हैं. इफ यू हैव अ सिविल मैटर, इट विल गो टू अ सिविल कोर्ट. इफ यू हैव अ क्रिमिनल मैटर, इट विल गो टू अ क्रिमिनल कोर्ट. तो वो अलग अलग कोर्ट्स में जाएंगे. तो यहाँ पे सब ये नहीं, दिस मैटर ऑफ सबजुडिस विल नॉट अप्लाई. राइट? तो
Ma'am,
ऑल राइट. यस.
ma'am, to my friend Chitra question, ma'am, I think we have read in the CRPC that if one element of criminal in a civil suit, the whole
It will be treated as a criminal suit only.
criminal.
Yes, it will be treated as a criminal suit only. But you would have also read that if somebody is going for a relief under criminal law, that does not bar a person from approaching the civil court for the civil relief also.
Ma'am, I think concurrent jurisdiction will be there, no? We can file in both the cases.
Yes, in both the cases, normally it goes to the criminal court. Okay, now let me move on to the case that I wanted to talk to you about. Now, this case basically deals with summary suit. Now, the issue which was raised in this case was, will Section 10 apply in the case of a summary procedure? Now, summary procedure you have not done, but for your understanding, because we are going to do this topic in detail, we have it as subtopic. But before we do that, I would like to do res judicata and then we'll move on to this. See, the case is, let me give you the name of the case. Alright. Case is Indian Bank versus Maharashtra State Corporation Marketing Federation Limited. I'm repeating the name. Indian Bank versus Maharashtra State Corporation Marketing Federation Limited. Now, before I explain this case to you, it becomes very important for me to explain you a little bit about the summary procedure. Now, summary procedure is given in Order 37. Now, the summary procedure is basically a very shortcut kind of procedure when there is a civil matter that you need to deal with, and the civil matter is of a particular kind which has been given in Order 37. Order 37 basically gives you the list of the matter, right? List of the cases or the matters in which a summary procedure can be filed. Now, summary procedure is a method of disposing of the case very quickly, without wasting time, because the matters are not so important, matters are not so serious or not involving basically only money and all that. So in such cases, the procedure which this court follows is different from the procedure that is followed by the court in regular cases, right? So what happens in a summary procedure is that in a regular court, what happens? One person is going to file a claim, then the suit is going to be instituted. Thereafter, the copy of the plaint will be sent to a defendant. Thereafter, defendant is going to file a written statement. Thereafter, what's going to happen? Both the parties are going to appear in the court. Thereafter, the court is going to either dispose of the suit or frame the issues. Once the issues are framed, thereafter, the proceedings and the evidence taken, everything will start. That's how the normal court proceeds. However, in a summary case, since we want the quick disposal of the case, the method in which the case has been dealt with is different. Here what happens is if one person files a claim, and when he's filing the claim, he has to very specifically tell the court that, look, this is a claim regarding a summary matter, or it is a claim under Order 37. He has to specify that, right? Now, once that has been specified, after that what will happen? Once the claim has been filed, a kind of notice is going to be sent to the defendant to appear in the court, right? If the defendant appears in the court within 10 days, fine. If he does not appear in the court within 10 days, at that time, the court is going to pass a decree in favor of the plaintiff. Right? Now, let's say the person appears in the court. Now, once the person appears in the court, thereafter the court is going to give him summons for judgment. Summons for judgment means what? It means, see, this is what the judgment is going to be. Right? So, summons for judgment is going to give. Now the person again gets only 10 days. I'll do this procedure in details with cases when we do this topic. After res judicata, which is section 11, I'm planning to do this topic only because it is connected. Or should we do it in the next class? Let me plan out, I'll tell you whatever we're doing. Right? So, so the summons for judgment will be given. Now the person has 10 days to decide whether he wants to contest this case or not. See, in normal case what happens? In normal case, a person has a right to contest. एक बंदे ने एक पार्टी ने प्लेन फाइल करा है तो डिफेंडेंट को राइट है कि वो अपना केस को कंटेस्ट कर सके. दिस इज नॉट द केस इन अ समरी प्रोसीजर. इन समरी प्रोसीजर द डिफेंडेंट डज नॉट गेट अ राइट टू कंटेस्ट द सूट. Right? So what we're going to do is that so in this case the person has to give an application to the court that I wish to contest this suit. Please do not decide it only on the claims of the plaintiff. I wish to contest for it. Now, when the person says, I wish to contest for it, the court has a discretion, looking at the facts of the case, looking at the gravity of the case, looking at the other matters or the circumstances of the case. The court will decide whether I should allow this person to contest the case or not. It is only when the court decided whether I should allow the person to contest this case. If the court allows, yes, you can contest, then the defendant can give his side of argument and the plaintiff will give his side of argument, and then the decision will come. If the court decides that this is not a requirement that I should allow the person to contest, the court will say no need. I'm just giving the judgment just like that on the basis of claims of the plaintiff. Right? Now, another point which you need to understand is that even if the person has been granted, the defendant has been granted the right to, or it has been allowed by the court to contest, it may be conditional or it may be non-conditional, which means the court can impose certain conditions. Okay, I am allowing you to contest the suit, but then these are the conditions. If the defendant violates those conditions, then the right to defend can be taken away from that person. Are you understanding? So summary procedure, and Anjali is saying next class, okay fine, then we'll do it in next class only. But then we'll lose touch with res judicata, and we have to find out the difference between res judicata and res judicata. So I'll do it after res judicata, because you have to clearly understand the difference between section 10 and 11, which is very, very important. Right, Anjali? So we'll do it after section 11. Okay. Because that is very important for you to understand what is the difference between res sub judice and res judicata. Right. Okay. Now, so this is how the summary summary suit works. So the procedure in summary suit is very different from procedure in a normal suit. So in this case, Indian Bank versus Maharashtra State Corporation Marketing Federation. What happened? In this case, this is a case basically between a bank and this Maharashtra State Marketing Federation. Now, in this case, the federation asked the bank to open a letter of credit, which basically means that this federation requested the bank that when you give credit to Shankar Rice Mill on a behalf, whenever Shankar Rice Mill is asking for money, you just take a permission and give the money to them on a behalf. This was the arrangement that was entered into between the bank and the federation. Now what happened? Now some dispute regarding the payment of money arose between the bank and the federation. Now what happened? On 6th of February 1992, the bank filed a summary suit in the Bombay High Court under Order 37 against the federation to recover the money. Right? So on 6th of February 1992, the bank filed you have to understand, this is the bank which is filing the summary suit in the Bombay High Court under Order 37 against the Federation because they wanted to recover the money. So obviously a notice was sent to this regarding this to the Federation. When Federation then appeared in the court within these 10 days, and the Federation opposed this filing of the summary suit, and they said, we have already filed a suit against the bank to recover our money in a civil court. So this is basically a subsequent suit. Since it is a subsequent suit, Section 10 will apply. Yes, everything is same. The parties are the same. The matter which has to be decided is regarding payment of money. Their title is the same as the debtor and a creditor. So debtor and creditor is again a title. So the title is same as the debtor and the creditor, and the suits are all in India only. So all the conditions of Section 10 are fulfilled. So the court should actually put a stay on this summary suit because हमने तो पहले से ही फेडरेशन ने क्या कहा? फेडरेशन ने कहा हमने तो पहले से ही एक सूट सिविल कोर्ट में फाइल कर दिया है. So there is no requirement of this summary suit. So put a stay on it, right? However, the single judge bench of the High Court, it did not agree with it. The single judge bench of the High Court said, look, Section 10 applies only on regular and ordinary suits. It does not apply on a summary suit. Summary suit, which is given under Order 37, is a very special kind of suit. It has a special procedure. It has different proceedings. The way it works is different. So that is why it is not an ordinary or a regular suit. So you cannot apply Section 10 on a summary suit. So no stay will be there, and leave was granted to the bank. Your case will go on, right? And Federation was asked, if you want to take defense, you can, right? Now the Federation was not happy with this decision. So what did the Federation do? The Federation went ahead and filed an appeal against it. So this appeal went to the division bench of High Court. Right? First was a single bench of the High Court. Now this appeal went to the division bench of High Court. Now, division bench of the High Court came to a different conclusion. Now, division bench of the High Court was of the view that the word trial, which has been used in Section 10. Now, we do not have to look at this in a very narrow sense. In fact, we have to look at it in a more broader sense, right? So it is not in the usual narrow sense, but it would mean the entire proceedings after the defendant enters his appearance, right? So definitely Section 10 will apply to summary suits also, and it went ahead and stayed the suit. So single judge bench ne kya kaha? The single judge bench said that it will not apply on a summary suit because it is a special procedure, it is not an ordinary suit, it follows a different way of working and all that. However, what did the division bench say? Division bench says, no, the word trial, which is used in Section 10, it says no court shall proceed with the trial in any suit, right? So this word trial is very broad, and it includes every kind of trial and everything under that comes under trial. And the trial starts from the stage a person institutes the suit. So that is why this comes within the ambit of Section 10, and we are going to stay the proceedings of the summary suit, and the summary suit proceedings cannot go ahead. So there has to be a stay. Again, they were not satisfied, the other party, the bank was not satisfied with it. So they filed an appeal in the Supreme Court. Now, basically the issue that had to be decided by the court was that will Section 10 apply on a summary suit filed under Order 37 or not? Now, in this case, what did the court say? Now, the court said, let me see. Alright. Now in this case, the court has basically discussed the meaning of trial, the word meaning of trial, and its application when it comes to Section 10, how broad the meaning is. The court went on to say that the word trial, no doubt, is a word of very wide import, and it basically means judicial examination and determination of the issues in civil or criminal court by the competent tribunal. So when we look at the word trial, it has a very wide meaning. Then the court goes on to give the meaning of trial in the various dictionaries and what is the meaning in it all. But the issue that we need to look at, the court says the issue that we need to look at is that when we are using this word trial, we have to use it depending on the nature and object of the provision and the context in which it is being used. So we do understand that generally when we talk about trial is a very broad term. It includes right जब से suit आपका institute होता है till the time the proceedings are gone and the final disposal of the suit से लेकर everything comes under trial. But do we give the word trial a narrow understanding or a broad interpretation or a narrow interpretation? That depends on the context that we are talking about. ठीक है? Now, because we have to interpret the word trial by keeping in mind the object and nature of the provision that we are talking about. The object of prohibition under section 10 is to prevent the court of concurrent jurisdiction from simultaneously trying two parallel suits and also to avoid inconsistent findings on the matter in issue. That's the whole object of section 10. That simultaneously same issue pe no two courts should not be trying the matter. And that is why this provision, so that there should not be conflicting judgments. The provision is in the nature of rule of procedure and does not affect the jurisdiction of the court to entertain and deal with the later issue, or does not create any substantive right. So it does not bar the institution of suit. ये बात मैंने आपको पहले भी बताई थी that section 10 does not bar the institution of the suit. It will not say you cannot file a claim. You can definitely file a claim, but it does say that once the claim is filed, you cannot. The trial will not go on. The court proceedings will not go on. Okay, and also if this court wants to file, okay, let's leave this part. That's not important. Okay, if the court in which the suit is subsequently filed, if it wants to pass any interlocutory order. Interlocutory order I talked to you about in my initial introductory lectures. Like for example, you have to appoint a receiver or attachment of any property has to be done. All these kinds of orders can be passed. Now, the most important para in this judgment is para 9, which basically says the provisions that are contained in section 10 is a general provision which is applicable to all categories of cases. Whereas the provisions that are contained in order 37, they apply only to certain clauses of suits. So not all suits, हर किसी matter के लिए आप summary procedure नहीं file कर सकते. Order 37 gives you a list of matters in which a summary procedure can be filed. One provides a bar against the proceeding with the trial of the suit. The other provides for granting a quick relief. So section 10 is talking about barring a suit and order 37 is talking about granting of quick relief. Okay? So both the provisions have to be interpreted harmoniously. When we are looking at order 37 and section 10, then both of them have to be interpreted in such a way that there is a harmonious interpretation that can be arrived at. Right? Now, they say, okay, then it all talks about the procedure of order 37 that I've already explained. Procedure 37 में क्या होता है? A plaintiff files a claim, thereafter defendant gets 10 days to appear. When he appears, order of judgment is a summon of judgment is given that look, we are passing this judgment. The person has to put an application before the court that, look, I want to defend my case. Don't just pass the judgment just like that. It is up to the court whether to allow the leave to defend or not. Leave to defend means permission to defend the case has to be given to the defendant or not. But once the case decides, the court decides that I have to, I should allow the person to defend the case, then we would say, okay, a normal trial will start. But this permission can be conditional or non-conditional, right? And if the court decides no need for giving this permission, then whatever is the claim of the plaintiff, the judgment will be passed according to that, right? So this is the procedure of 37. In this case, the court says the stage of determination of the matter in issue will arise in a summary suit only after the defendant obtains the leave. The trial would really begin only after the leave is granted to the defendant. This clearly appears to be the scheme of summary procedure. What this basically means is that in court ने कुछ भी decide नहीं किया, आकांक्षा. Court has not decided anything, right? The matter is still going on. Okay. So the court basically said that in a summary procedure, the stage of trial trial ka jo definition, it is very broad, but we need to understand the definition of trial only in the context of the matter that we're talking about, in the context of provision that we're talking about. In context of summary procedure, we will say a trial has started only after the defendant has been granted the leave to defend. Leave to defend means what? The defendant has been allowed, okay, you can take defense in your case. So it's only when the defendant has been allowed to take defense in the case that we say the trial has started, and not before that. Fine. Now, the court in para 10 says, considering the objects of both the provisions, that is section 10, which is stay on the suits, and order 37, which is summary procedure, wider interpretation of the word trial is not called for. Which means when we look at the objectives of section 10, which is what? Objectives of section 10 is to avoid multiplicity of suit, is to avoid conflicting decisions. Objective of 37 kya hai? Objective of 37 is quick disposal of the case. So when we look at the objectives of these two provisions, we find that we need not give trial a very expansive, very, very broad definition. In fact, we should give a narrow definition to trial here, right? So in a summary suit, a trial will begin only when the defendant has been allowed to defend his suit and not before that, right? So considering the objects of both the provisions, that is section 10 and section 37, order 37, wider interpretation of the word trial is not called for. We are of the opinion that the word trial, and this is para 10, please do read para 10. This gives the judgment part. This gives the decision part. We are of the opinion that the word trial in section 10 in the context of summary suit cannot be interpreted to mean the entire proceeding starting from institution of the suit to lodging of the plaint. In summary suit, the trial really begins after the court or the judge grants the leave to defend the defendant to contest the suit. So in a summary suit, the trial will begin only when the defendant has been granted this leave. Therefore, the court or the judge dealing with the summary suit can proceed up to the stage of hearing the summons for judgment and passing the judgment in favor of the plaintiff if the defendant has not applied for leave to defend. This means what? अगर मान लीजिए सेक्शन 10 में कोई मैटर पेंडिंग चल भी रहा है और किसी दूसरी पार्टी ने एक समरी सूट के लिए अप्लाई कर दिया है, इंस्टीट्यूट कर दिया है सूट, एंड द डिफेंडेंट डज नॉट अपीयर इन द कोर्ट और द डिफेंडेंट डज नॉट आस्क फॉर अ लीव टू डिफेंड, तो उस केस में हम कहेंगे समरी सूट का तो कभी ट्रायल शुरू हुआ ही नहीं, तो सेक्शन 10 विल नॉट अप्लाई एंड इट विल नॉट एक्ट एज अ स्टे ऑन द सूट. I'll give a summary of the suit once again, but let me just read out. Okay. Now, second चीज क्या होती है? The defendant has not applied for the leave to defend, or such application has been made but it has been refused, or if the defendant who is permitted to defend fails to comply with the conditions on which leave to defend is granted. Right? Now, that is why what the court basically did is जो डिवीजन बेंच हाई कोर्ट ने स्टे लगाया था समरी प्रोसीडिंग्स पे उसको हटा दिया. So you understand the position very clearly. I'm explaining it in very, very simple words. Question or the issue, this is the summary of the case. The question or the issue in this case was that can section 10 apply on summary suit also? The court in this case said that when the section 10 uses the word, the other court cannot proceed with the trial of the suit, and there has to be a stay on the trial, right? So trial ka meaning has been discussed. Trial is very broad. It starts from the time the plaintiff files the suit is instituted and goes on till the suit is decided. However, looking at the objectives of section 10 and looking at the objectives of order 37, which is quick disposal of the case, the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that when we talk about trial in the sense of a summary suit, we have to give it a narrow interpretation. Summary suit में हम कहेंगे trial has started only when the person has been granted the leave to defend, right? Then we say the trial has started. अगर सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि समरी सूट हैज बीन फाइल्ड बट द पर्सन डज नॉट आस्क फॉर लीव टू डिफेंड, तो उस केस में ट्रायल कभी स्टार्ट ही नहीं हुआ, तो सेक्शन 10 विल नॉट अप्लाई. सेकंड सिचुएशन इज पर्सन आस्क्ड फॉर लीव टू डिफेंड बट द पर्सन वाज नॉट ग्रांटेड द लीव टू डिफेंड, राइट? सो इन दैट केस आल्सो ऑर्डर 10 विल नॉट अप्लाई. थर्ड केस इज पर्सन आस्क्ड फॉर लीव टू डिफेंड, वाज ग्रांटेड द लीव टू डिफेंड बट ही वायलेटेड एनी कंडीशन ऑफ द condition on which his leave was granted. So then again the trial is not started. So in such case, the court cannot put a stay. Right? So in short, you can understand it like that order section 10 does not apply on a summary procedure as such. It will not act as a stay until and unless the leave to defend has been accepted by the court and the trial has started. So the Supreme Court in this case set aside the order which was given by the Division Bench of High Court. Okay, let me see your questions now. There are some questions. Okay, Akansha is saying what was decided. Akansha, I hope you have heard it now. Then Utkarsh, ma'am, whether interlocutory order include temporary injunction? See, temporary injunction is a separate category altogether. Interlocutory orders would include other kinds of orders, but temporary injunction, if you want to understand in spirit and sense, yes, it is an interlocutory order, but we do not call it an interlocutory order because this is a separate category which has been created. Now, Anshuman is asking, and in regular court, when does the trial begin? Like summary suit starts when the moment the plaint has been filed. Anshuman, according to this judgment, the moment a plaint has been filed, if we look at the broad definition of trial, from that point itself the trial begins. Right? So we cannot have a generic definition because we have read CRPC. You said trial only begins after the charges have been framed, at the stage of charge framing, right? So that's why different courts, according to every provision, the trial is interpreted when it begins. Anjali is saying, like jurisdiction is mentioned in section 10, that's why summary is different from regular trial. Yes, because for summary trial, no, the procedure is also different. Why only jurisdiction? See, the procedure is entirely different, and the matters that can go to a summary for a summary trial are different. They're not different, but they're specified. There is an entire list which has been given, and you can look at list in, let me tell you the provision. The provision is, okay, Order 37, Rule 1, Sub-Rule 2. Order 37, Rule 1, Sub-Rule 2. It basically gives you the list of matters which can be tried by a summary procedure. It includes bill of exchange, hundis, promissory notes, and all that. Just go through that list. Fine, class? Now, any question anyone asks, and those who have missed their attendance, please put your roll number once again. And from next time onwards, please try to be on time. Okay, Wednesday is our tutorial class. So just a moment, just let me make this announcement. So Wednesday is our tutorial class, that is tomorrow. So if anyone has any doubts, they can ask me in that class. Right? I'll provide a link. If anyone has any doubts, they can ask. Yes, somebody was asking questions. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, in summary trial, the court can reject the application of the defendant to defend.
Yes.
So, in that case, the court is not violating the doctrine of audio cum partem.
No, it is not, because the procedure is like that, because the matters are very small and petty and not very matters which is going to affect the right of the parties in a broader sense. See, we need to, if every small matters court is going to spend so much time, then it leads to kind of injustice, because justice delayed is also justice denied. So, छोटे matters के लिए अगर case बहुत लंबा चलेगा, that does not make sense. That is why this kind of provision has been made. There's a special provision which has been made for these matters. Fine. All right, I'm marking anyone, any doubts, and I'm marking your attendance. Those who want to leave can leave. I'm just marking it in Priyansha. Okay. Okay, Priyansha, please try. Okay. Yeah, fine. 352 is Sakshi. Then 637. 637 is Hari Sutan. Then 167 is Ram. Okay. Then 357 is Kash. Okay. Then 541 is Rohit. Rohit, you've not been attending my class? 163.
Yes, ma'am, I missed a few classes recently.
Okay. 163 I've already marked Anjali. 263 Abid. Then 709 Gautam. 079 Gautam marked. Then 255 Amit. Alright, anyone who has missed, okay. Varsha, 452 Varsha. Anyone else who has missed attendance, please put your roll number in the chat box. And tomorrow we'll have tutorial class, so I'll provide the link. Anyone has any doubts, they can come. Fine? All right, class, thank you so much. Now we'll start with section 10. Section 10 basically deals with the concept of res sub judice. Now, what is the concept of res sub judice? See, basically it acts as a stay on the suit. Now, what does this section say? Section 10 basically says that, let's say there is a matter in controversy, and with regard to that matter in controversy, one suit has already been filed, right? And the parties are saying the matter which is in controversy is same, right? A suit is already pending. Now, the other party goes ahead and he also files another suit, right? And in the same matter, same controversy, same parties, everything, this other party also goes ahead and files a different suit, maybe in the same court or in a different court. At this point of time, this section 10 says that since there is already a suit which is going on, already a proceeding which is going on with respect to the same subject matter, so the second suit which has been filed later on, that suit will be stayed. There will be a stay which will be put on that suit, which means no proceedings will be done with respect to that suit. Otherwise, what will be the consequence? Otherwise, the consequence is going to be that there are two courts are going to give, and it's possible that the two courts give two different conflicting judgments. Then we do, and they are the courts which are at the same level, same pedestrian. So we do not know which judgment to rely on, right? So it can give rise to such issues कि एक ही मैटर पे दोनों कोर्ट में दो अलग-अलग कोर्ट में मैटर चलेगा. So फिर the judgments can be conflicting judgments. So this is going to lead to a chaos. And also it is also a wastage of the court's time, energy, money. Everything is being wasted. While you have to decide one suit, why go into two different, why allow two different suits to be, suit proceedings to be carried on in the same matter. So that is why we have section 10, which acts on the stay of the suit. And which suit is stayed? The suit which is filed later on is stayed and the earlier suit is retained. But there are certain conditions for it, and let's read section 10 and find out what are the prerequisites or the requirements for the stay of the suit, which is also called as res sub judice. Res sub judice. Res, R-E-S, res. Res basically means pending. Sub, S-U-B, sub. Sub basically means subject. And judice, J-U-D-I-C-E. Judice basically means under judiciary's control, right? So res sub judice, which means any subject which is pending under the judiciary's control, right? So if a matter is already pending on the same matter, you will not be allowed, the suit proceedings will not be allowed on the same matter. Let me read the section and then I'll give you an explanation of it. Section 10 says, no court shall proceed, and all of you please open section 10. Those who are having section 10, please open section 10. Now, no court shall proceed with a trial of any suit in which the matter is also directly and substantially in issue. Now, underline this word directly and substantially in issue. And where is this matter directly and substantially in issue? In a previously instituted suit. So this matter is directly and substantially in issue in a previously instituted suit, underline this thing also, between the same parties, underline same parties also. Just keep on underlining and noting down the words that I'm telling you, then I'll give explanation of each and every. These are basically the prerequisites or the conditions required for imposing section 10, right? So between the same parties or between the parties under whom they or any of them claim litigating under the same title. Again, underline same title, right? Where such suit is pending in the same or in any other court. Underline this also. Same court, the matter is pending in same court or in any other court. Beyond the limits of India, established or continued by the central government and having like jurisdiction or before the Supreme Court. Explanation says, the pendency of a suit in a foreign court does not preclude the court in India from trying the suit founded on the same cause of action. Now, what does this mean? So this basically means that, first understand the concept. Section 10 deals with stay on the suit. Stay in the suit, which means what? Stay on the suit means that the court in which the suit has been instituted, that is the second suit has been instituted, that court will not proceed with the suit. इट इज गोइंग टू पुट अ स्टे कि हम इस सूट में कोई भी कार्रवाई आगे नहीं करेंगे. सूट तो हमने इंस्टीट्यूट कर दिया, लेकिन आगे जो भी कार्रवाई whatever proceedings needs to be done, we are not going to do that, right? That's what stay on the suit means. तो स्टे करने के लिए क्या क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है? इसके लिए रिक्वायरमेंट है सबसे पहले there must be at least.
दोस्तों, ब्राज ग्रुप आशा करता है कि आप सभी लोगों को ये लेसन पसंद आया होगा. आप अपना फीडबैक कमेंट बॉक्स में देना न भूलें. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग.